I always had the thought to write a lyric drama on the following and particular subject. At the time, I occupied myself with alchemy. Alone in my laboratory, one day I rested. Outside, a leaden, vivid, sinister sky. A horror. I was sad, without knowing the reason, almost apprehensive, without knowing why. The idea came to me to distract myself in counting slowly on my fingers from 1 to 260,000. This is what I did. And very boring it was too. Bonsoir. Bonsoir, Satie fans and fellow phonometricians. My name is Henri Lafontaine, and I'm joining you here live and unplugged from our facility, Stan's Caf HQ. It's not every day you get the chance to remake a show that you created in, 1992, so 33 years ago, which is probably just as well. However, there is a lot to discover in Erik Satie's music, and we're going to, I'm going to play you some of his pieces tonight, to the second 100 years to the point of his death, which was on Wednesday, the 1st of July, 1925, at 8 p.m. Paris time. So it's a very special moment. I'm going to start with an early piece because I'm really enjoying Satie's early music when he was in his 20s at the moment. This is a piece called Ogive. And ogive is a Gothic arch, a pointed Gothic arch that you would find in a cathedral. So when Satie was a student at the Paris Conservatoire, he used to escape the stultifying boredom of his time there by going to Notre Dame and probably sitting in there, sleeping off mother of a hangover, I should suspect, because he'd probably been playing piano all night at a club. And he writes music about music in churches. One of the things I love about Satie is the way that he deals with material. He has a very special way of dealing with material. So he never wrote a symphony, he never wrote a concerto, he doesn't write sonatas, he writes ogives. And it's like a container for his thinking. And his thinking starts like this. So ogive. Number one, he dedicates this piece to a fellow called Contamine de la Tour, who was a writer and a friend, a drinking buddy in Montmartre. At one point they were so poor they shared a pair of trousers and some shoes. So one of them would have the trousers one night to go out on a binge, and then it was the other's turn the next. So this is piano music about Gregorian chant and about a full pipe organ. You can hear the pipe organ in Notre Dame Cathedral. And in fact, Satie's first teacher in Honfleur was a fellow called Monsieur Vino, who was an organist and taught Satie solfège and also Gregorian chant. So you can hear that coming out in the music there. He was only barely 20 when he wrote that piece of music. So his youthful music is really, really beautiful. I'm going to play you, and mostly I'm going to stick to music that he wrote very early on in his career. So this is the beautiful fourth Nocienne. Again, it's not a sonata, it's not a prelude, it's a Nocienne. This is the fourth Nocienne. Written on the 22nd of January 1891. The second Nocienne. First time I heard that piece was in a film called Being There. I don't know whether that's the case for you as well, but beautiful film with Peter Sellers. His last film, I think, or pretty much his last film. And the fourth and the fifth Nocienne appear in those films. Now, Satie's music has obviously been used synced to image quite a bit. And I remember actually, funny enough, if any of you are listening to Classic FM to sort of cure your insomnia or to help you wake up gently in the morning, for the last week you will have been hearing this, of course, which is the piece that Satie's reputation is based on, really. Now, I'm not going to play this tonight, except a little section of it. It's difficult to stop, though, I have to say. The reason I think it works so well with images is because it goes nowhere. It's not about development. So Satie's breaking off with the whole 19th century tradition of large symphony orchestras, very chromatic music, music pushed to sort of the edge of chromaticism. And he's breaking off with that. He moves to a much simpler frame and to smaller works. So his mode is the piano, but he wasn't a great pianist, and I love that. I mean, I think it was Contamine Latour who said of him, he was like a person who had 13 letters of the alphabet, which he worked with remarkably well. I'm going to cut on a little bit to a piece from later in his career. There's so much beautiful music to discover. I urge you to do it. This is the Nocturne number 1. The Nocturnes are very late pieces. This is 1919, so just after the war. And Satie, in a way, is coming back to that sort of wonderful medieval music that he's so interested in at the beginning of his career. And what is he so interested in? Well, it seems like it's musical decor. It's almost like it's musical scenery that he's making. So it's kind of unobtrusive, but it's also, you can hear the medieval influence in this. So this is the Nocturne number 1 from 1919. going to avoid the so-called humorous pieces of music tonight, except for these. And they're very subtle. These are called avant-dernière pensée, next to last thoughts, 1915. Each one is dedicated to another composer. The first one to Debussy. He was, of course, a great friend of Satie. They met in a bar, bistro, or cabaret bar called Auberge de Clou in the 1890s. And this first piece is called Idylle, so a daydream, if you like. And of course, you know, that makes you think of Reverie by Debussy, right? So, very different sound altogether. Etc. Satie has a very different idea of this, so he begins the left-hand part, and instead of moving, it just stays there all the time. And then the tune, well, the melody seems to go nowhere. Now in this second one, which is called Aubade, it's a sort of dance, if you like. He's mimicking, well, it's actually dedicated to Paul Dukas, who wrote The Sorcerer's Apprentice, you may remember. And we've got this sort of guitar going, or some clapped out old guitar. And again, this does not change. The last avant-dernière pensée is called Méditation, and he dedicates this to Albert Roussel. Albert Roussel was one of his teachers at the Schola Cantorum, which was like a rival conservatoire where they would study counterpoint and medieval music and Renaissance music, Baroque music. So real hard-line kind of musical technique training. And in this example, the name meditation tells you something because it makes you think of Thais, you know, the famous violin piece, very romantic piece of music by Massenet, the Meditation. And this is completely different. So Satie's meditating on something entirely different. I think those three pieces are one of the reasons Satie has this reputation as being the father of minimalism. I think also that's the kind of familiar story about Satie, and I think he's a lot more interesting if we think of him simply being himself. Something unrepeatable. It's time to play the final piece. And I think what I'm going to play is, I've changed my mind about this, I'm going to play one of the Cole pieces. Cole piece number 2, the Danse de Travers, the crooked dance number 2. This is one of my favourite pieces and one of the most timeless pieces of Satie. Just gone 7 o'clock. 100 years. Thank you, Erik. On Saturday, we will be performing Memoirs of an Amnesiac, the second ever Stan's CAF show, remade from 1992 with the original cast, the wonderful Graham Rose and myself, Henri Lafontaine, otherwise known as Rick Chu. I'm afraid the evening performance is sold out, which is great for us. The afternoon performance is a matinee at 2 p.m, I believe. 2 p.m. GMT. Hope to see you there. Thank you.